be able to have our students, our Indigenous students in Rapid City, access culturally responsive to successfully language and culture. In that time, we did meet with Dr. Fairbanks extensively to highlight the fact that our urban natives are craving this type of education system. And so this resolution of support would really enable us to create that, so we do have some consistency beyond COVID, because my fear is beyond COVID, what happens to all of our Rapid City students who are transferring into Oglala Lakota County right now to access these cultural opportunities. We're hoping to be able to sustain that, and so we're really counting on all 9 tribes.
They didn't pay in taro fees. You know, that's the respect they have for our laws.
Thank you, Councilman. Council, are there additional questions? Is there any online? Seen none online?
Nobody online.
Okay. Question?
I had a comment. You know, Shannon County Schools would oppose this because there would be the dollars that would fund that school, and that's why they support it even more than it is now. And as far as I'm concerned, Shannon County Schools, they need this tribe to exert some of its authority on them, you know, because they all the time. I knew they were going to do that last year because it was scuttlebutt going around. So I'll second Ryan's motion to approve this.
Thank you, Councilman. So there was a motion by Councilman Jumping Eagle, seconded by Councilman Dillon to approve. They don't have a resolution right now. To draft a resolution for approval of the Oceti Shakopee Education Coalition.
Why don't we just reaffirm the one we did last year?
Okay. Thank you for that. Councilman Jumping Eagle, is that okay if we reaffirm it? If you want to amend your motion?
Oh, that works.
Thank you, Councilman. Thank you, Councilman Dillon. So the motion is to reaffirm the resolution of support for the Oceti Shakopee Education Coalition. And further discussion, seeing none, Secretary, if you want to call the vote. Thank you.
Wesley Hawkins Sr.
Oh.
Blaine Little Thunder.
Oh.
Cora Whitehorse.
Yes.
Ryan Jumping Eagle.
Yes.
Gerald Canoria Jr.
Yes.
Austin Watkins Sr.
Out.
Tyler Yellowboy.
Yes.
Carlo.
Yes.
George Dreamer. Jillian. Michael Carlo Sr.
Yeah, so thank you, Kate. About moving with 2/3. I know that Mr. Gonzalez deserved to take action if we need to, or just take it in the 2/3 area that we passed it.
Yeah, no problem. And I think we should take action following Mario's presentation.
Okay, thank you, Chairwoman. So with that agreement, Mr. Gonzalez, if you want to come up and present, and I know there's some stuff for her to pass out, or the stuff to pass around. So just be patient, Council, and then let me check on lunch.
He needs help passing stuff up. Mario. Yes, there will be. They should be here between 12:30 and 1.
And then Council, we'll let Mr. Gonzalez present first, and then lunch should be coming, after his presentation. So just stand by for that. So thank you, Council. And then we'll go pass this around, and we'll get this out. So thank you.
Chairman, is that the information that was emailed to us earlier this morning?
Yes, it was.
From
Okay,
Mario. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay. Shall I wait till they get back, or shall I wait till they all sit down?
Stacy.
Yeah. She's coming back, Councilwoman Nohawk, so just give her a couple minutes.
It's located within that territory. There's a huge oil and gas project that's presently occurring there. It's called the Converse County Oil and Gas Project. And on the federal lands, they're planning to put 5,000 oil wells on that land. There's already development on the private lands, oil wells existing, but on the federal lands, there's 5,000 oil wells going in there. And the tribe has rights there. The Cheyenne River originates there. And so the tribe is very concerned, has been concerned, because fracking from the oil wells will pollute the Cheyenne River. And also, there's going to be flaring. And as the crow flies, that's not that far away. So there'll be flaring toxins coming onto the reservation. And so we have to look at that to protect those things, to protect the tribe. In addition, there are hundreds of rock features and cultural sites that are Sioux in origin that are located in there. So that's one of the principal territories of the Oglala Sioux tribe and other Sioux tribes. And the 51 Treaty defines 60 million acres as Sioux territory, and that Converse County is located right in the middle of that territory. So what happened is that we were unaware of all that development until we accidentally found out about it through a Facebook post on the internet saying those two tribes should be doing something about Converse County. There's a deadline coming up on the draft environmental impact statement. So when we found out about that, we only had a limited amount of time to file a response to that draft environmental impact statement. We also asked for consultation at the Prairie Wind Casino in 2018 on that draft environmental impact statement. And then after that, we were waiting for the final environmental impact statement. And Lisa Cummings received one of our copies of our email, and she checked, and we only had 10 days to file a protest. It had already been issued. And we only had 10 days to file a protest. So we filed a protest, and just in time, and then we were waiting for a response from the protest all this time. I kept sending emails out to Jennifer Spotted Bear and Tom Brings and others saying, keep track, make sure we don't miss out on the deadline, for the protests. So eventually Lisa said, well, you only have 10 days now. I said, oh my gosh. So we had to rush again to get a protest in within 10 days by August 31st. And then we've been waiting and waiting for the response to that protest. And we thought that they never responded, so I drafted a proposed letter up, which I handed out here, for the president to sign, indicating that we were still waiting for the response to the protest. And I've been communicating with Tim Mintz up in Standing Rock, and he calls me yesterday evening, and he says, you better not send that letter out under the president's signature, because they already responded to the Oglala Sioux Tribe's protest. And then he send me a copy of the land use planning protest resolution, which I just handed out. And so that was handed out in December. And I don't know if the tribe ever received a copy. Presumably it did. It must have went to Jennifer Spotted Bear's office, because all the responses were supposed to go to her. So then, to make matters worse, then they issued a ROD, a record of decision, on the 23rd of December. The Trump administration is basically trying to issue the ROD to authorize the development of oil and gas on that project. So from December 23rd till now, we only have, I think, if we file a lawsuit, we only have 30 days from December 23rd to file the lawsuit. We just found out about it last night. So I think we need to have a better system of monitoring these energy projects and the deadlines, because we're always waiting till the last minute to respond to these deadlines. And so I think we could still respond, but the question now is the tribe's going to have to authorize, probably working with the Law and Order Committee, authorize the legal department lawyers to take appropriate action. Otherwise, we're going to lose our rights to protect all those cultural sites over there, protect our water rights to Cheyenne River, and fishing and hunting rights, and other rights. So there's a lot at stake here, and we only have a very limited amount of time to file a lawsuit. Either we're going to have to file an administrative appeal, which we're looking into, to a higher level similar to the Indian Board of Appeals, but with the Bureau of Land Management, or I don't know, maybe we can go directly into federal court within a 30-day period. So nevertheless, it's kind of an emergency now to take action here. That's why I talked to Craig Dillon, and he suggested we put that 2/3 on the council agenda today. So that's why we're here. So that's kind of, it in a nutshell. We have to determine what the council wants to do, but I would strongly recommend that we don't just sit on this, we take action to protect our interests over in Converse County.
Thank you, Mr. Gonzalez. Councilor, any questions for Mr. Gonzalez? Councilman Dillon?
I'd like to make a motion that we file immediately, and we assign Mario to do it.
Second.
Dillon, so it is Councilman Carlo, Councilman Rodriguez, and Councilman Whitehorse all seconded that. And Councilman, can you repeat your motion one more time, please, for the Secretary?
My motion is that we have our attorney, Mario Gonzalez, file the appeal immediately so we can get in on the ground works with this lawsuit. And also, Mr. Chairman, that we set up a better system for addressing these environmental issues. This cost us big time up there what's Standing Rock? When we failed to even protest the pipeline because of politics that were played in an office there at the tribe. I think it's way more important that all of that information come to one place and then it gets put out in the right direction. And maybe Stacy could come up with a plan to develop that and bring it back to the council so we could pass an ordinance that will get that information out in a timely manner.
Thank you, Councilman. And that was seconded by Councilwoman Carlo, Councilman Rodriguez, and Councilman Whitehorse. And then discussion, Councilwoman Spotterbear.
I was actually going to mention what Councilman Dillon stated, because a lot of these letters from BLM come through through the regular mail system. They don't come via email. And I know in 2019, there was a lot of back and forth into 2020 regarding KXL in regards to having a meeting with BLM and then they postponing back to back. So if we could set up a process or a system that we focus on this specifically, because they require deadlines, and when we require meetings, they don't do the government to government. And that's an issue that I have with that, as far as when they send any type of notice, it's through paper email. And a lot of times the mail system is very slow getting to the tribal building.
Thank you for raising that. And Councilwoman, one thing that I might suggest is that with the incoming Secretary Holland, since BLM is under Interior, maybe that's something we could kind of forward through them and ask that they correspond electronically, and that because it's leaving a lot of our lawsuits behind. But that's just a suggestion. But thank you for raising that. Appreciate it.
I just wanted to add that we're the only tribe that has filed a protest, or we're the only tribe that can have the standing to take action, file a lawsuit or administrative appeal. But the Great Plains Tribal Chairman's Water Alliance also filed a protest, so perhaps the tribe should collaborate with the alliance and file a joint, administrative appeal or a joint lawsuit. Just a suggestion.
Councilman Dillon, is it okay to add that into the motion you just made of collaborating with the Great Plains Tribal Chairs Water Alliance?
Yes, it is. That's good.
Thank you. Council, further discussion on this item? Seeing none, Secretary, if you want to read the motion one time and then call the roll. Thank you.
Motion by Craig Dillon, seconded by Cora Whitehorse, Ella Giancarlo, and who else was it there? Rodriguez, okay. Bernard Rodriguez Jr., to have Mario Gonzalez, attorney, to file an appeal immediately so that we could get into the ground with the lawsuit and set up a better system to address these issues. To have, when you said Stacy, were you referring to me? Okay, to have the secretary come up with the plan to address these issues and to collaborate with the Great Plains Tribal Chairman's Water Alliance.
Thank you, Secretary. And you're going to call roll?
Wesley Hawkins Sr.,
Oh,
Blaine Little Thunder,
oh,
Cora Whitehorse,
Yes.
Ryan Jumping Eagle,
Yes.
Gerald Canoia Jr.,
yes.
Austin Watkins Sr.,
Oh,
Tyler Yellowboy,
yes.
Wendell Youngman Jr.,
Yes.
Ron DeBrey, James Cross,
Yes.
Ella Giancarlo,
Yes.
George Dreamer Jr.,
Yes.
Julianne Spotted Bear,
Yes.
Richard Ironclad,
Yes.
David Poyer,
Yes.
Sonia Little Hawk Weston,
Ha.
Michael Carlo Sr.,
Oh, yes.
Bernardo Rodriguez Jr.,
Yes.
Garfield Still,
Yes.
Craig Dillon,
Yes.
19, one not voting.
Thank you, Council. That passes 19 yes, one not voting. Motion is approved. Mr. Gonzalez, we'll work on that stuff and we'll work with, I guess, my office and we'll keep you updated on how it goes. I don't know if you have anything else to add, so.
Yeah, thank you, Council.
All right, thank you, Mr. Gonzalez. Appreciate it. So we'll move on to, and Council, the lunch isn't here yet?
Not yet.
Lunch isn't here yet, so it should be coming. So we'll just move on to item number 14. Chairwoman Whitehorse, if you want to help lead the conversation around the Finance Committee agenda.
Okay, on the first resolution, Stacy, can you read that? But you'll need to change the date because the date says December 30th. So maybe you could put, after, upon passage or something like that, instead of December 30th.
Ordinance of the Oglala Sioux Tribal Council of the Oglala Sioux Tribe and Unincorporated Tribe. Ordinance of the Tribal Council of the Oglala Sioux Tribe adopting an amendment to the OST Ordinance number 10-06, establishing and adopting the process for special tribal council meetings under Article 4 of the Tribal Constitution to rescind provision number 4. Whereas the Oglala Sioux Tribe adopted its constitution and bylaws by referendum vote on December 14, 1935, in accordance with Section 16 of the Indian Reorganization Act of 1934, 25 U.S.C. subsection 5123, and under Article 3 of the Constitution, the Oglala Sioux Tribal Council is the governing body of the Oglala Sioux Tribe. And whereas pursuant to the Constitution and bylaws of the Oglala Sioux Tribe, the Oglala Sioux Tribal Council exercises legislative powers to enact and promulgate resolutions and ordinances. And whereas Article 4, Section 1S of the Constitution authorizes the Tribal Council to adopt laws regulating the procedure of the Tribal Council, the Executive Committee, chartered organizations, and subcommittees of the Tribal Council, and to adopt laws establishing the order of business during regular and special meetings of the Tribal Council. And whereas Section 4 of the Special Council Meetings Ordinance 10-06 only allows for agenda items included in the notice of special meeting. And whereas by motion and vote on December 17, 2020, the Finance Committee recommended an amendment to ordinance number 10-06 to rescind section 4 and allow add-on items to special council meeting agendas as written. And whereas the tribal council agrees with the foregoing recommendation of the Finance Committee, now therefore be it ordained that the Tribal Council of the Oglala Sioux Tribe hereby adopts the following amendment to ordinance number 10-06, rescinding section 4 to remove the requirement that only items listed on the signed petition be allowed on the agenda. And be it further ordained that this ordinance shall go into effect immediately upon approval and shall supersede, repeal, and replace all prior inconsistent laws of the Oglala Sioux Tribe. Certification.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve, is there a second? A second by Councilman Steele. Any discussion on that? Seeing none, Secretary, ready to run the roll? No? And, Council, Chairwoman Whitehorse, I appreciate your attention to doing good governance and cleaning up stuff in our code books, because a lot of things do need to be cleaned up. So, and for the listening audience, this is what this is about, is just cleaning up our code books and, make business run a little bit faster and smoother. And that's always a good thing, especially in government. So, appreciate you, Councilwoman Whitehorse, for doing this. Secretary, ready to run the vote? Okay, and she'll call the roll. Secretary will call the roll. Thank you.
Wesley Hawkins Sr.
Oh.
Blaine Little Thunder.
Oh.
Cora Whitehorse.
Yes.
Ryan Jumping Eagle.
Yes.
Gerald Canoia Jr.
Yes.
Austin Watkins Sr. Tyler the Yellow Boy.
Yes.
Wendell Youngman Jr.
Yes.
Ron DeBray.
Oh.
James Cross.
Yes.
Ella Giancarlo.
Yes.
George Dreamer Jr.
Yes.
Julianne Spotted Bear. Yes. Richard Ironclad.
Yes.
David Poyer.
No.
Sonia Little Hawk Weston. Michael Carlo Sr.
Yes.
Bernardo Rodriguez Jr.
Yes.
Garfield Steele.
Yep.
Craig Dillon.
Yes.
Yes, 19 yes, 1 no.
Thank you, Council. That motion passes 19 yes, 1 no. Motion passes. Thank you. Chairwoman, item B.
Thank you. Again, this was committee action, and Stacy, can you change the December 30th, 2020 date on this ordinance as well? And I'm sure there'll be a lot of discussion after this is read. So if you could read it, please.
Okay, this was 16. Ordinance of the Oglala Sioux Tribal Council of the Oglala Sioux Tribe and Unincorporated Tribe. Ordinance of the Tribal Council of the Oglala Sioux Tribe adopting an amendment to OST Ordinance number 19-22, rescinding ordinances number 00-28, 01-29, 08-08, 09-27, 16-28, 17-12, and 17-20, and adopting the Standing Committee Ordinance of 2019 to remove Section 4A, which placed a limit of 9 members, 1 per district, on the Finance Committee. Whereas the Oglala Sioux Tribe adopted its constitution and bylaws by referendum vote on December 14, 1935, in accordance with Section 16 of the Indian Reorganization Act of 1934, 25 USC subsection 5123, and under Article 3 of the Constitution, the Oglala Sioux Tribal Council is the governing body of the Oglala Sioux Tribe. And whereas pursuant to the Constitution and bylaws of the Oglala Sioux Tribe, the Oglala Sioux Tribal Council exercises legislative powers to enact and promulgate resolutions and ordinances. And whereas Article 4, Section 1S of the Constitution authorizes the Tribal Council to adopt laws regulating the procedure of the Tribal Council, the Executive Committee, chartered organizations, and subcommittees of the Tribal Council, and to adopt laws establishing the order of business during regular and special meetings of the Tribal Council. And whereas Section 4A of the Standing Committee Ordinance of 2019, Ordinance Number 1922, only allows 9 members on the Finance Committee, 1 per district. And whereas by motion and vote on December 8th, 2020, the Finance Committee recommended an amendment to Ordinance Number 19-22 to rescind Section 4 and place no limit on the number of council members on the Finance Committee. And whereas the Tribal Council agrees with the foregoing recommendation of the Finance Committee, now therefore be it ordained that the Tribal Council of the Oglala Sioux Tribe hereby adopts the following amendment to Ordinance 1922, Section 4A, to remove the requirement that only 9 council members, 1 per district, can serve on the Finance Committee. And be it further ordained that this ordinance shall go into effect immediately upon approval and shall supersede, repeal, and replace all prior inconsistent laws of the Tribal Council. Certification.
Thank you, Secretary.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Chairwoman Whitehorse. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Carlo and Councilman Steele. And council, is there discussion on that motion?
I have a comment.
Councilman Jumping Eagle.
Oh, thank you, Chair. The reason why last term we did this was to make it fair. You know, it gets territorial, and when it comes to funding, and you know, we all want better for our communities. And what we saw last term was, you know, how it was going to be unfair, you know, and that was the main point behind this. So I'm still, for me personally, that I feel it's only fair that we have 1 representative per district. You know, it makes it fair. You know, that's just my opinion. I just wanted to state my opinion. You know, I'm not for this, so thank you.
Thank you, Councilman, for clarifying that, and appreciate your input. Council, is there other discussion on this?
Question.
Councilwoman Little Hawk, question.
Thank you, Mr. President. You know, last administration, you know, I did get on finance, and then I found out that we had this ordinance in place that only 9 could sit on the Finance Committee. So, you know, it was an ordinance that was passed prior, you know, to have 9 sit on the Finance Committee, 1 from each district. But, you know, I really felt, you know, kind of the same as Ryan about sometimes it shouldn't be that way. You know, it should be, you know, always making sure that we're looking out for not only our districts, but it should be for the people across the reservation. You know, that when we're doing things, we should make sure that we're doing it in a unified, you know, effort, decision making. And sometimes that's not going to happen. So, you know, I just want to say that today. And so I got on, you know, as you know, the council's aware, one of our colleagues has been on leave, won't be back until the 11th of January. So she was on the Finance Committee. But Thursday, you know, I got on because I was hearing, well, Wakwamni don't have representation on her. Who's sitting on there? So I got on just to listen in. And then I come to find out that, you know, the ordinance was going to be amended to add others on there. So I did get on. I went ahead and got on because we had an elderly on there that was saying no representation from Wakwamni. So, you know, I did get on the Finance Committee. And I think Ms. Sears did step off at that time which is, her own personal decision. But again, I believe that if anything, I don't care, I guess, how much of us sit on there, but we should always be working together in a unified way to be looking out for all of our districts and working together to do that. So I just wanted to say that today. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Committee, council, is there other discussion? Seeing none. So we'll run the vote. Secretary, if you want to call it, if you want to read the motion one more time, and then we'll run the vote. Thank you.
Motion by Cora Whitehorse, seconded by Mike Carlos Sr. and Garfield Steele to approve ordinance of the Tribal Council of the Oglala Tribe adopting an amendment to the OST ordinance number 1922, rescinding ordinances numbers 002801-2908-08, 09-27, 16-28, 17-12, and 17-20, and adopting the Standing Committee Ordinance of 2019 to remove Section 4A, which placed a limit of 9 members, 1 per district, on the Finance Committee. Wesley Hawkins Sr.
Yes.
Blaine Little Thunder.
Oh.
Cora Whitehorse.
Yes.
Ryan Jumping Eagle.
No.
Gerald Canoia Jr.
Yes.
Austin Watkins Sr. Tyler Yellowboy.
Yes.
Wendell Youngman Jr.
Yes.
Ron DeBray.
Here.
James Cross.
Yes.
Ella Giancarlo.
Yes.
George Dreamer Jr.
Yes.
Julianne Spotted Bear.
Yes.
Richard Ironclad. David Poyer.
Yes.
Sonia Little Hawk Weston. Michael Carlos Sr.
Yes.
Bernardo Rodriguez Jr.
Yes.
Garfield Steele.
Yes.
Craig Dillon.
No.
Yes, 5 no.
Thank you, council. That passes 15 yes, 5 no. Yeah, the motion passes. Thank you. So council, we got a decision to make here. So if we want to, I know that there's some other items, 2/3 on the finance committee. Do we want to take those now and move them down, or no? Say no. Okay. So we'll just take them at the 2/3 then, when that comes up. So just stand by, Chairwoman Whitehorse, and we'll take those items up here in probably a couple hours or something. So.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chairwoman. So, moving to item number 15, Health and Human Services. Chairwoman Spotted Bear or Chairman Yoboy, if you want to read 15A, 15B, 15C, and 15D. I'm not sure which order you want to go in.
I can go ahead. Item number 15, Health and Human Services Committee. A resolution of the Tribal Council of the Oglala Sioux Tribe approving disenrollment for Amanda Marie Reddy. And do you want me to combine B as well, since they're the 2 requests, or do we have to motion on it individually? Individual. Okay. Do you want me to read?
Yeah.
Motion to remove to disenroll Amanda Marie Reddy.
There's a motion to disenroll. Is there a second on that?
Question.
Was that Councilwoman Whitehorse?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
There has to be a resolution to remove someone from the rolls.
Correct, that was brought up and we don't have that resolution here.
Thank you, Councilwoman. And so the resolution is up here at the Secretary. Secretary, if you want to read that, and if you want to add that as part of your motion, Councilwoman, as to read the resolution, and then motion to disenroll.
Correct. So the secretary can read the resolution? Okay.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Chairwoman, sorry.
And also, Tribal Council, for your information, there is in your packet, under HHS Committee, all of these resolutions are available for you to review.
Councilman, sorry.
Mr. Chair, according to the documents that's in here about Amanda, it says pending acceptance to another tribe. So if we pass this resolution and they don't accept it, then she can't come back. She's just caught out there with nothing. So I think there should be something in writing from another tribe. Because once we do it, she's out.
I have a comment to that.
Councilman Jumping Eagle, go ahead.
So she was pretty adamant, Dave, that, you know, she wanted to be disenrolled, you know, and she's fully aware of the chance she's taking. She's been asking me and Don for about 2 months now to get this pushed through for her and her son. So, you know, whatever happens after, we can disenroll her. Whatever happens after that, that's up to her, you know. So I think we just move forward with it.
Councilman, you okay? Okay. Thank you, Councilman. Thank you, Councilman Jumping over that clarification. Other discussion on this? All right, the Secretary is going to read it before we vote on it. So thank you, Secretary.
Resolution of the Oglala Sioux Tribal Council of the Oglala Sioux Tribe and Unincorporated Tribe. Resolution of the Tribal Council of the Oglala Sioux Tribe approving disenrollment for Amanda Marie Reddy. Whereas the Oglala Sioux Tribe adopted its constitution and bylaws by referendum vote on December 14, 1935, in accordance with Section 16 of the Indian Reorganization Act of 1934, 25 U.S.C. subsection 5123, and under Article 3 of the Constitution, the tribal government or tribal council is the governing body of the Oglala Sioux Tribe. And whereas the Oglala Sioux Tribe's Constitution, enumerated powers section 1J, authorizes the tribe to enact resolutions or ordinances not inconsistent with Article 2 of the Constitution concerning membership in the Oglala Sioux Tribe. And whereas OST member Amanda Marie Reddy has requested disenrollment from the Oglala Sioux Tribe to enroll with Ponca Tribe of Nebraska, and the Health and Human Services Committee met on November 25th, 2020, and recommended granting her request. Now therefore be it resolved that the Tribal Council of the Oglala Sioux Tribe hereby grants disenrollment of Amanda Marie Reddy from the Oglala Sioux Tribe's rolls and census as of this date. Certification.
So there was a motion by Councilwoman Spotted Bear, and there was a second. Was there a second to that? Councilwoman Yellow Boy? A committee for discussion? Seeing none. Secretary, if you want to call a vote.
Wesley Hawkins Sr.
Yes.
Blaine Little Thunder.
Yeah.
Cora Whitehorse.
No.
Ryan Jumping Eagle.
Yes.
Gerald Canoyer Jr.
Yes.
Austin Watkins Sr. Tyler Yellowboy.
Yes.
Wendell Youngman Jr.
Yes.
Ron DeBrey.
Help.
James Cross.
No.
Ella Giancarlo.
Yes.
George Dreamer Jr.
No.
Jillian Spotted Bear.
Yes.
Richard Ironclad. David Poyer.
No.
Sonia Little Hawk Weston.
Ha,
Michael Carlos Sr., Bernardo Rodriguez Jr.,
Yes.
Garfield Still,
No.
Craig Dillon,
No.
14 yes, 6 no.
Council, that passes 14 yes, 6 no. Motion passes to disenroll Miss Amanda Marie Reddy. Thank you, Council. Item number B, Councilwoman Spotted.
So we have a resolution of the Tribal Council for approval of the disenrollment of Tate Allen Grimes. Secretary, if you could read the resolution.
Resolution of the Oglala Sioux Tribal Council of the Oglala Sioux Tribe and Unincorporated Tribe. Resolution of the Tribal Council of the Oglala Sioux Tribe adopting disenrollment for Tate Allen Grimes. Whereas the Oglala Sioux Tribe adopted its constitution and bylaws by referendum vote on December 14, 1935, in accordance with Section 16 of the Indian Reorganization Act of 1934, 25 U.S.C. subsection 5123, and under Article 3 of the Constitution, the Tribal Council is the governing body of the Oglala Sioux Tribe. And whereas the Oglala Sioux Tribe Constitution enumerated powers, Section 1J authorizes the tribe to enact resolutions or ordinances not inconsistent with Article 2 of the Constitution concerning membership in the Oglala Sioux Tribe. And whereas OST member Tate Allen Grimes has requested disenrollment from the Oglala Sioux Tribe to enroll with Ponca Tribe of Nebraska, and the Health and Human Services Committee met on November 25th, 2020, and recommended granting his request. Now therefore be resolved, the Tribal Council of the Oglala Sioux Tribe hereby grants disenrollment of Tate Allen Grimes from the Oglala Sioux Tribe's rolls and census as of this date. Certification.
Thank you, Secretary. Councilman Steele?
Yeah. I got a message from our enrollment committee member, and she stated that enrollment has had a meeting since March of 2020. And that's kind of alarming to me, because if we look at our numbers, to utilize our enrollment, and our enrollment committee is not meeting, that's an issue for us as a tribe. So as chairman, I think you need to see how we could get that going. I know in the past, the enrollment director had a lot to do with our board calling the meetings, but I really like to see that the board have their own authority as far as calling their meetings, getting information. I mean, because they could do it by Zoom now. But I really like to see that happen, so we can start enrolling our members, and they can be the body that considers the disenrollments also.
Thank you, Chairman. I will definitely put that in our office and figure out what's going on there, and try to figure out some kind of how to move that process forward. Because I agree, because that did hurt us in our COVID payments, and for the listening audience and people. And I've been getting a lot of messages on that about why aren't certain areas included, outside the reservation. And for the listening audience, I don't think this point is reiterated enough, but in the original housing formula, they used 1,800 or 18,600 people to fund us with the COVID monies that we got, without the approval of our tribe. But we originally had at least 46,000 people enrolled. So that's a big difference, So again, just for everyone who's listening, for everyone on Facebook, that was the number that was used, was 18,600 people. And that's what gave us our COVID money. And it was based on housing on the reservation. And definitely if we could figure out how to move that enrollment process forward and start meeting again, I just want the listening audience to know that, because it's, I know that some people keep saying it was based on 46,000, which isn't true. So we just need to dispel rumors. So thank you, Councilman. I appreciate that. Other discussion on this item? Seeing none, Secretary, did you read that resolution? Okay, you just read it. Okay. Seeing no other discussion, Secretary, if you want to call the vote, thank you.
Wesley Hawkins Senior,
Yes.
Blaine Little Thunder,
Yeah.
Cora Whitehorse,
No.
Ryan Jumping Eagle,
Yes.
Gerald Canoria Jr.,
Yes.
Austin Watkins Senior, Tyler Yellowboy,
Yes.
Wendell Youngman Jr.,
Yes.
Ron DeBrey,
Oh,
James Cross,
No.
Ella Giancarlo,
Yes.
George Dreamer Jr.,
no.
Jillian Spotted Bear,
Yes.
Richard Ironclad,
Yes.
David Poyer,
No.
Sonia Little Hawk Weston, Michael Carlos Sr.,
Yes.
Bernardo Rodriguez Jr.,
Yes.
Garfield Still,
No.
Craig Dillon,
No.
Yes, 7-0. Motion carried.
Thank you, council. That motion passes 13 yes, 7 no for the disenrollment. So thank you, Chairwoman Spotted Bear. Item number C.
Item number 15C is resolution of the Oglala Tribal Council of the Oglala Tribe approving Jackie Sears as voting member of the Oglala Tribe Health and Human Services Committee. Secretary, if you can read the resolution.
Chairman?
Councilman?
Yeah, can we add C and D together?
Chair, if we can amend amend that and do include C and D as the same request.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Councilman Steele. Thank you, Chairwoman, for allowing that. So we'll add items C and D together. And for the listening audience, it's a resolution to add council members to this HHS committee, Councilwoman Sears and Councilman Dreamer and Councilman Ironclad as all members of the HHS committee. So if you want to make that, there was a motion by Chairwoman Spotted Bear. Is there a second? Second by Councilman Steele to approve of that and to add that. And the secretary will make that change and she'll read the resolution as is. Well, thank you.
To make a correction, they have her down as Pine Ridge Village, Pine Ridge Council. It should be Wakamani. Yeah, so I'm just making that change here. Resolution of the Oglala Tribal Council of the Oglala Tribe and Unincorporated Tribe. Resolution of the Oglala Tribal Council of the Oglala Tribe approving Jackie Sears, George Dreamer Jr., and Richard Ironclad as voting members of the Oglala Sioux Health and Human Services Committee. Whereas the Oglala Sioux Tribe adopted its constitution and bylaws by referendum vote on December 14, 1935, in accordance with Section 16 of the Indian Reorganization Act of 1934, 25 U.S.C. subsection 5123, and under Article 3 of the Oglala Sioux Tribe Constitution, the Oglala Sioux Tribal Council is the governing body of the Oglala Sioux Tribe. And whereas I need to make a correction because it has Pine Ridge District Council, it should be Wakamani District Council Representative Jackie Sears, Pine Ridge District Representative George Dreamer Jr., and Porcupine District Representative Richard Ironclad has expressed their desire to be on the Oglala Sioux Tribe Health and Human Services Committee as a member, as a voting member. Whereas the OST Health and Human Services Committee did meet on the 7th day of December 2020 with a quorum present, and did approve this resolution for presentation to the Oglala Sioux Tribe for their approval. And whereas the membership of the council representatives on the committees of the Oglala Sioux Tribe is approved by the Oglala Sioux Tribal Council. Now therefore be it resolved that the Oglala Sioux Tribal Council does hereby approved based upon the recommendation of the OST HHS Committee, hereby approves the appointment of Ms. Jackie Sayers, Wakamani District Councilperson, George Dreamer Jr., Pine Ridge District, and Richard Ironclad, Porcupine District Councilperson as voting members of the OST Health and Human Services Committee. Certification.
Thank you, Secretary. Council, seeing no discussion, further discussion on this. Secretary, if you want to call the vote. Thank you.
Wesley Hawkins Sr.
Oh.
Blaine Little Thunder.
Oh.
Cora Whitehorse.
Yes.
Ryan Jumping Eagle.
Yes.
Gerald Canoia Jr.
Yes.
Austin Watkins Sr. Tyler Yellowboy.
Yes.
Wendell Youngman Jr.
Yes.
Ron DeBrey.
Oh.
James Cross.
Yes.
Ella Giancarlo.
Yes.
George Dreamer Jr.
Yes.
Jillian Spotted Bear.
Yes.
Richard Ironclad. David Poyer.
Yes.
Sonia Little Hawk Weston. Michael Carlo Sr. Bernardo Rodriguez Jr.
Yes.
Garfield Steele.
Yeah.
Craig Dillon.
Yes.
Council, that passes unanimously, 24-0 against, to add Councilman Sears, Councilman Dreamer, and Councilman Ironclad as voting members of the Oglala Sioux Tribe Health and Human Services Committee. Thank you, HHS Committee Chairs. Appreciate your work on this. Item number 16, Land Committee. Chairman Carlo.
Mr. Chairman, at this time, I'd like the Secretary to read the resolution approving and adding Jackie Sears, Blaine Little Thunder, and Wesley Hawkins Sr. to the Land and Natural Resource Committee. And we're proud that both gentlemen, even though they're from the same district, you know, they bring 150 years of experience to our committee. So I'd like to have the Secretary read it.
Thank you, Councilman Carlo. What's the total experience with that committee? So, no, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. So, Secretary, if you want to read that resolution, thank you. Thank you, thank you, Chairman Carlo.
Resolution of the Oglala Sioux Tribal Council of the Oglala Sioux Tribe and Unincorporated Tribe. Resolution of the Oglala Sioux Tribal Council of the Oglala Sioux Tribe adding Jackie Sears, Blaine Little Thunder, and Wesley Hawkins Sr. to the Land and Natural Resource Committee. Whereas the Oglala Sioux Tribe was organized under Section 16 of the 1934 Indian Reorganization Act by adopting a federally approved constitution and bylaws, and whereas the Tribal Council conducts business using a variety of standing committees for which members are normally selected at the beginning of the term of government. And whereas since the committee rosters were made, Jackie Sears, Blaine Little Thunder, and Wesley Hawkins Sr. has decided to serve on the Land and Natural Resource Committee. And whereas on the 21st day of December 2020, the Land and Natural Resource Committee met in a regular meeting with the quorum present and voted to approve this resolution and forward it to the Oglala Sioux Tribal Council. And whereas the Oglala Sioux Tribal Council has considered the matter and desires to take the recommended action, now therefore be it resolved that the Oglala Sioux Tribal Council hereby adds Jackie Sears, Blaine Little Thunder, and Wesley Hawkins Sr. to the membership of the OST Land and Natural Resource Committee. Certification.
Thank you, Secretary. Council, is there any other discussion on that? A motion? Motion by Chairman Carlo, seconded by Councilman Watkins. Further discussion, seeing none, Secretary, if you want to call the vote.
Wesley Hawkins Senior,
Uchimancha, yes.
Blaine Little Thunder,
Oh.
Cora Whitehorse,
Yes.
Ryan Jumping Eagle,
Yes.
Gerald Canoria Jr., Austin Watkins Senior,
Oh.
Tyler Yellowboy,
Yes.
Wendell Youngman Jr.,
Yes.
Ron DeBrey,
Oh.
James Cross,
Yes.
Ella John Carlo,
Yes.
Judge Dreamer Jr.,
Yes.
Julianne Spotted Bear, yes, Richard Ironclad,
Yes.
David Poyer,
Yes.
Sonia Little Hawk Weston,
Ah,
Michael Carlo Senior,
Yes.
Bernardo Rodriguez Jr.,
Yes.
Garfield Still,
Yep.
Craig Dillon,
Yes.
unanimous 20.
Thank you, council. That passes unanimous, 24-0 against. Thank you, Chairman. I appreciate your work on this issue as well. So thank you. On the Uchi-Macaw Committee. So, cool. So thank you, council. So item number 17, the president's report. Council, I'm just going to have to hopefully give a verbal report, but is there any way that we can move my item to around 3 o'clock? I have somebody that wanted to present under my office on some state issues coming up, if that's okay with everyone, if we can move that to around 3 o'clock, and he's on the East Coast, so he'll present, but he just wanted to make sure, I just wanted to bring that to council, make you aware of some of the stuff that's going on at the state level that will affect us, and then in that way he'll be able to do that, so it's okay if I move that to about 3 o'clock, see where we're at. Okay, so cool, thank you, council, appreciate that. So item number 18 is the vice president's report. I believe that she passed that out on the last council meeting. If you have a copy of that, council?
Oh, did they?
Did they pass that?
Lunch is set
Okay.
up outside.
Okay, so does everybody have a copy of that report, council? Yeah, okay. And I know the vice president, is she on?
I'm here.
Okay, Vice President, you want to do a quick presentation? And you're right before lunch, so. But your report was passed around, and so they do have, it was distributed, so go ahead, feel free, Vice President.
Sounds good. There's an agenda that, there's 2 items, basically with some sub-items under that. The first is the CARES Act Task Force. We did have a meeting on December 15th, and that was more of an informational meeting, so we could all get on the same page. We had Jennifer Hughes present, we had Mason and Treasurer Bicro and Comptroller Dean Patton present. We also had Oitancha Amani Zephyr present, who's the OST COVID-19 Response Initiative Director. That was just to get us all on the same page and understand the ordinances and things like that. And then from that meeting, I also polled the districts to see what challenges and difficulties they had, and was able to figure out some places to help. We do know that was extended, the deadline was extended, but the budget is another piece of it. There's many moving pieces to that, but one of the main places that we really looked in helping was a small business grant. So we did have Lakota funds and the Pine Ridge Area Chamber of Commerce really helping out with those and checking in and helping our small businesses apply for that. So that was just one area we could help with. We also had some special executive committee meetings because there was we could approve anything 250,000 and less. So in order to expedite that for the districts and anybody else that had any of those, we did have some special executive committee meetings to help those, sent out some templates of some resolutions and contracts that they could submit to try to help move that along. So those are some of the pieces that we found to help with the CARES Act Task Force and helping get those monies utilized and services out to the community. The second item is the OST COVID-19 vaccine plan. Before I move on to that, is there any questions about the CARES Act Task Force piece?
I think you're good, Vice President, yeah.
No questions? Okay, so moving on to the OST COVID-19 vaccine plan, we did use the CDC recommendations kind of as a template, and I'm sure you guys are watching the news, so you've seen it's very similar to the testing in that states and everywhere is on their own. We have these kind of guidelines from CDC, but everyone is kind of adapting it to their community and what's best for them. So the OST COVID-19 Task Force Medical Work Group has been meeting and coming up with some of the adaptations that we see fit for our community. And so there is we have listed out the different folks in the different phases. I know, Council, I did poll you all to see who would like to get the vaccine. It's kind of how we're figuring out how many people are in a program and how many people want the vaccine, because that's just to get a number of how many we will actually be delivering and how we can move into the next phase quickly. I'm trying to say Dr. Jumping Eagle is also on, and also Ray Ann helped to develop this, so they can answer any other questions too. And Dr. Jumping Eagle may have some more in her report as well. But we are currently moving into phase 1B, which includes 70 years and older. That is one adaptation we made. CDC had 75 years and older, but we know our population and life expectancy and risk factors and things like that, and our concern for elders. So we have moved that down to 70 years old, and that is currently 1B priority right now. And in your packet, you can see that I believe there are, what do I do with my packet? I had it right here. There it is. We are estimating about 1,000 vaccines for 70 years and older. And so we do have currently elders coming in, being called by IHS, and we're going to be putting out some information on how they can go in and get that vaccine, because we know that people are anxiously awaiting to get that. And once we get to 70 years and older, 1B is a big phase, and so there's a lot of people in that phase as well, and 1C, which is where council is. So we won't be getting to phase 1C council for a while, and I think Dr. Jumping Eagle can let us know kind of the timeline, but that's why we're polling the different places to see who wants the vaccine, and so we can see how many we have, and like I said, how we can move into those other phases. Yeah, so the time frame is kind of up in the air, depends on when things come in both vaccines. We have both vaccines, and they both require 2 doses. So any questions on the vaccine plan, the OST vaccine plan, Council?
Councilman Poirier?
Madam Vice Chair.
Can't hear him.
About a week or so ago, so I called the Cobb Clinic this morning. They said that they won't be starting till next week. Then I turned and called the Pine Ridge Hospital, and they're doing it next week. So what's the true story? Because I've heard that some have already started.
Is that for the 70 years and older, Councilman?
Vice President, yeah, that's correct. It was for the 70 and over.
And I see Dr. Jumping Eagle jumped on, so Dr. Jumping Eagle, feel free to jump in with the answer to that if you have that.
Okay, our schedulers started reaching out last week to get elders scheduled, and we are sending out a PSA today. I just sent it to Dr. Musso, Dakota, Karen, KILI, to share for if there's elders 70-year-old and older that are interested in the vaccine, that they can call the appointment line numbers for all the clinics are on there. So we did start calling elders to get them scheduled, but we're also sending out a PSA for elders to call in, and if they're interested in the vaccine, to get scheduled as well. We may not have everybody's contact information, so just want to make sure it gets out there.
Councilman Poirier, okay, Councilman Poirier is good. Council, any other discussion? And Vice President, feel free to keep going or finish your report.
Yeah, so just wanted to also emphasize, even if people who do have the vaccine, we want to encourage our community to continue those prevention measures of wearing a mask, distancing, and washing hands, and also following the shelter-in-place orders. So those are still important for sure. And Dr. Jumping, before you jump off, oh, she just jumped off. Did you have anything to add, Dr. Jumping, or do you want to add that to your IHS?
I could follow up in my report. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And any other questions, council, about the vaccine or the CARES Act task force?
Question.
Yes.
Councilwoman?
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Alicia, for that update. So today, we do have 70-year-olds and above that are taking the vaccine right now, right?
Yes.
They have taken it?
Yep.
Okay. So, based on IHS's data, I guess, are within the IHS system, are you going to make sure you get all the 70-year-old on up before you move into the next phase?
Dr. Jumping,
That's what we're trying to do. We'd like to send out, we'll send out another PSA after I review with the vaccination team. We'd like to offer, and we discussed this on the task force as well, some blocks of time, in addition to the appointments that are scheduled, just some blocks of time where elders can come in, basically on a walk-in basis. But we also don't want, the vaccine team to have a big line waiting, and we don't want to inconvenience the elders as well by having them waiting in a line. So that's the purpose of the scheduling as well. So yes, we have started vaccinating the elders, and we would like to get any of those elders who are interested, get the majority of them done before we start reaching out to the other departments that are part of the frontline essential workers that are part of phase 1B. We have started reaching out to those department supervisors to get a list of their employees, and then we're just letting program supervisors know that our vaccine team will reach out to them, and again would like to schedule blocks of time for those programs as well. But we're anticipating probably the essential workers would be either later this week or early next week. We've for a service unit of those active users, we're estimating about 1,000 that are 70-year-old and older. So if you can imagine, that'll take us some time. That's if of all that are in that age range, but we know that not everybody's interested in the vaccine, although we're encouraging it, it's up to them. So we don't really have a good idea of how many will want the vaccine.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Councilman?
Yes, Ms. Berrigo, do you guys have a team that actually goes out to some of these elderly homes, or do they all have to come in?
For me?
Yes.
Okay, this is Dr. Jumping Eagle. So we are also working with our public health nurses, our the CHRs, and also our team that works with transportation services, our social services department. When they're calling elders to schedule, they're also asking about any transportation issues. So we're trying to address those elders that may not have a ride or may not have a way to get here. And we're working with the COVID-19 task force also in the longer term to plan some other events. OST Emergency Management has been a really great team to work with as well. We're setting up another tent to look at, hopefully next week we would like to have 2 tents going with the vaccination process. That's in addition to our outside drive-through or drive-up testing that's also still occurring for COVID-19.
Councilman Dillon?
I'm hoping that doctor can answer, if you've had COVID-19, is it recommended you take the shot or not?
It is still recommended to get the vaccine, even if somebody has had COVID-19. There's been rare reports of, although somebody does get immunity after getting COVID-19, scientists aren't sure how long that exactly lasts. So there have been some cases of reinfection after getting COVID-19. And we know that even from getting COVID-19, the immunity is not 100%. So that's why the vaccine is still recommended for if somebody's already had COVID-19.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, thank you, Councilman Dillon. Further questions for the Vice President? Anything else on the report? Councilman Littlebunder?
Yeah, Mr. President, I know for all the programs and the elderlies and whatnot, but I think people want to hear out there what the community and the ones that even does the age group that are younger, maybe in the 30s, 40s, whatever, even younger than that, they have that COVID-19, and then just like Mr. Dillon mentioned, some that already had it, they can still take that vaccination, and is that gonna, that new kind of strain that's coming, of course coming, I guess it's more contagious, that's that gonna, vaccinations, that's gonna be, help overcure this strain that is of course coming. So maybe out there, the people that are listening, that even the younger generation does want to get that vaccination. And also IHS, we have local clinics that where they can go to or get questions, maybe they're gonna, I know they're gonna call and whatnot to find out to see if they're be eligible to get that vaccination. That's the question that I got.
Thank you, Councilman. Do you want Dr. Jumping Eagle to elaborate on that, or the Vice President? Councilman Littlebunder? Okay, no worries. Okay, thank you, Councilman. Councilman Steele?
Well, I have a question, but it's kind of hard to believe anything from IHS these days. But I got a comment. I have a lady who is over 70 years old who did receive COVID, or who did contract the COVID virus, and she said that she was denied the shot because the doctor told her that she already had COVID. However, we do know that there's cases of individuals being reinfected, so I don't know how true that is, but I do believe the person that did make the statement. And I kind of wonder why the doctors would be telling our people that, if they had it, they can't get the shot, because I believe a lot of the IHS personnel did, contract the virus in the past, but, they were still given a shot. So I don't see what's any different from our elder members that are over 70, why they can't get the shot. But I don't want to hear nothing from anybody. It's just a comment I wanted to make. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Sergeant at Arms?
Oh, thank you. My question is to the relatives at Ms. Jumping Eagle. What is the availability of the vaccines? Is there a set amount that the tribe is scheduled to get, or what's, I guess, long story short, what's available for the reservation as a whole? Thank you.
It's true that we do have a limited amount of vaccines. I'll just answer, sorry, Dr. Musso. There's a limited amount of vaccines that we're receiving here at the Pine Ridge Service Unit, and that's why it's important that we're working with the task force and the team to identify who does the community want to prioritize as part of the frontline essential workers, and how we've lowered the age range as being different than what was recommended by the CDC and the ACIP. Right now at the service unit, we have about 800 doses of the COVID-19 vaccine. We're expecting arrival of more of the vaccine in the next week. This would be for those who are going to start getting the booster doses. So we are, and similar to Councilwoman Weston's question of how we're trying to, get a lot of the elders vaccinated based on the amount of vaccine that we have, because we know that they're the highest risk group. But we do expect more vaccine to come. We just don't have confirmation on dates and amounts at this time, but as it comes, we'll send out updates.
Thank you, Dr. Jumpanigo. Councilman Gilbert.
Good afternoon, Dr. Jumpanigo. Can you tell me what the differences are between both vaccines? And do the physicians know what is best for the individuals who have underlying health conditions such as diabetes, heart problems? Is there a difference between administering one vaccine versus the other? And then the next question is, which vaccine would be great for individuals who are suffering from rheumatoid arthritis?
Right now, some of the main differences between the Pfizer and Moderna vaccine on our end of things are the storage requirements. This is one of the reasons Primary Service Unit is one of the distribution centers, because we have the ultra cold storage freezers that are required for the Pfizer vaccines. And then the Moderna vaccines do not require the ultra cold storage freezers. So those are a little bit easier to work with as far as logistics goes. And as far as getting them out to either the outlying clinics or to other places. We are also receiving vaccines for the Oyate Health Center, Rapid City Service Unit, and Rosebud. So we're the vaccines that are going to those sites as well. Regarding your other question, so far we haven't seen a difference as far as whether one vaccine would be recommended over another for those who have high-risk medical conditions. You mentioned rheumatoid arthritis, and that would be most likely to be considered a category of someone who would be immunocompromised, so would fit high-risk medical condition. So basically the information goes out to community members when we get to that point, which would be phase 1C. Those in the age ranges of adults, 16-year-old to 60-year-old with medical conditions would be under the phase 1C part of the COVID vaccine plan.
Thank you, Dr. Jumpanigo. Further questions under the Vice President's report?
Oh, I actually, one more thing. Sorry, I was getting distracted by that phone call. Also another difference between Pfizer and Moderna. Right now, Pfizer is saying that after the second COVID vaccine, their immunity rates are about 97%, and the same with Moderna. But Moderna also, after the first dose, has a immunity of about 70%. So, of course, everything's changing daily with the vaccines and the information that's coming out. So, as that comes out, we'll update everyone.
Thank you, Dr. Jumpanigo. So I got three questions. I got Councilwoman Carlo. You still have a question? Okay, and then Councilman Dillon, and then Councilwoman Whitehorse.
Thank you, Chair. I guess I have a couple questions. The first one is, do employees up there have can they opt out of the vaccine?
Employees at IHS, is that?
Yep.
Yes, anyone can opt out of the vaccine. We're offering it to everybody. So yes, they can.
And where do those vaccines, are those individual vaccines that are left over, where do they go to?
The service unit is receiving an amount of vaccine for the service unit and for the community. So It's not that a certain amount was designated for the hospital or the clinics as compared to the community. It's all in one group.
Okay, and then the last thing I have is I apologize, I didn't hear this. I did receive a text from an individual. Could you please restate the process for those individuals that are high risk, that do, I guess, qualify for the vaccine?
When we get, sorry. When we get closer to that time period, we'll be working with the COVID-19 task force on phase out to the community. Right now, we just completed phase 1A of the vaccine plan. And I believe Dr. Musso's information that she shared with you shows who's in phase 1B. And that's where we're at right now. Those with high-risk medical conditions who are not elders or not essential workers would be part of phase 1C. So we're not there yet. As we get closer, more information.
Thank you, Councilman Dillon, and then Councilwoman Whitehorse and Councilwoman Spotted.
I got an interesting text. An individual has lived in Wounded Knee for 50 years. He's 72, and he's been adopted by the Wounded Knee District. Does that and he's high risk? Would that qualify him for getting a shot, vaccination?
Yes, I'd encourage him to give us a call.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilwoman Whitehorse.
Hi, Sarah. I just wanted you to explain again. I'm sorry, I must have not heard you clearly, but on patients who are immunocompromised, should they be getting the vaccine? And where would they get the vaccine? And how would they go about requesting the vaccine if they should be getting it?
So similar to what we're doing with the elders, as we're getting closer, so elders 70 years old and older are part of phase 1B. Phase 1C will be those who are 16 years old to 60 years old and have a high-risk medical condition. They're part of phase 1C. And so as we get closer to that, we'll be reaching out to people and scheduling and sending out a PSA for people to call in and get their appointment scheduled. But again, this is dependent on how many vaccines that we have available at each point in time. So we'll give.
So people with like rheumatoid arthritis or hepatitis or any other of those, they are recommended to get the vaccine?
I think in the information Dr. Musso gave you, it lists who the high-risk medical conditions are. That's listed per the CDC and ACIP recommendations. I know that immunocompromised, I believe, is on that list. It lists lung disease, heart disease are all a part of that. There's probably about 10 conditions that are listed.
Okay, Alicia, can you email that to me?
Yes, I will. And thank you, Council, for all the questions. We are getting ready to do a information dissemination plan for the community about the vaccine and all these pieces because there are a lot of questions. So thank you guys for those questions. And like I said, we'll be getting that information out and I will send that to you, Cora.
And it is, I believe it's in my report also that I sent to Stacy last week.
Okay, thank you, Councilwoman Whitehorse. Councilwoman Spotted Bear.
Good afternoon, Lisa. I just had one question regarding the vaccine. According to your phases, have all your staff received the vaccine as of present?
Is that a question for Dr. Jumping Eel?
Yes.
Okay. As stated previously, we're not requiring all of our staff to get the vaccine. So those staff who have who are interested in getting the vaccine have received the vaccine. We also, even though we have mostly completed phase 1A, if someone changed their mind and wants to come in at a later point and get the vaccine, they can. Similar to, if we get a majority of elders 70 years old and older, and then start moving on to different essential worker programs, if an elder changes their mind, they can always come in later.
Okay, I asked that question because if they've not received the vaccine, but they do become positive for COVID, are they still required to work? And if so, what's your protocols for that?
We have an employee health protocol here at Pine Ridge Service Unit. If someone is currently positive for COVID, they do not work. And we have our isolation and quarantine process, and they go through our employee health protocol. But if at some point they decided they wanted the vaccine, they could still get the vaccine.
So do they continue to work?
When people are positive for COVID, they do not continue to work.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Well, thank you, Councilwoman. So I got Councilman Watkins and then Councilman Steele.
Thank you, Chairman. I think the only question I have for her is, everybody has a different reaction to that, shot. What happens if they get real sick? Is there something they have to do to make them feel better, or is there something that they have to worry about? That's concerning the elderly that are 7 and older.
We are sending out information that if someone has a side effect or an adverse reaction, although adverse reactions are pretty rare, the CDC is tracking it, so the person could inform their medical provider and then we would document it. We're also giving out information where an individual could report it directly to the CDC. There's also apps. There's a VSafe app, and then there's the VAERS, VAERS vaccine adverse event reporting system people can report to as well. So if it occurs, right afterwards, which is pretty rare, but we are giving people information about that. We're monitoring everybody for 15 minutes afterwards. But if someone's had an issue with allergies to other vaccines or injections, then we're watching them for 30 minutes afterwards, just as a precaution to keep an eye on them after the vaccine.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Steele.
My question is for the Vice President. What about is there a timing point? Well, I know that eventually there will be, but like for teachers and administrators, and are all the tests voluntarily? Are they mandated that they have to take them in order to, be in their workplace?
At this point, they're all voluntary. So, and there is a place on here for staff. I believe it is 1C. I'm looking. The food distribution is a 1B for schools because that's what's happening right now. We're currently, in virtual. And so that, like I said, every place has adapted their vaccine plan to what's happening in their community. And so since we are currently virtual, we just have the food preparation and food staff who are delivering at the schools on 1B. And so I believe the actual staff are in 1C.
You good, Councilman? Okay, thank you. Thank you, Council. Is there further questions? Seeing none, Vice President, I know that there's a motion to approve your report by Councilman Carlo. Is there a second? Second to approve the Vice President's report. Second by Councilman Steele and Councilman Ironclad and Councilman Dreamer. And Councilwoman Spotted Bear, if you can shut your mic off, please. Thank you.
Sorry.
So motion approved. And Secretary, if you want to run the vote, thank you.
Wesley Hawkins Sr.,
Yes.
Blaine Little Thunder,
Oh.
Carl Whitehorse,
Yes.
Ryan Jumping Eagle,
Yes.
Gerald Canoyer Jr., Austin Watkins Sr.,
Oh.
Tyler Yellowboy, Wendell Youngman Jr.,
Yes.
Ron DeBrey,
Oh.
James Cross,
Yes.
Ella Giancarlo,
Yes.
George Dreamer Jr.,
Yes.
Julian Spotted Bear,
Yes.
Richard Ironcloud,
Yes.
David Boyer,
Yes. Yes.
Sonia Little Hawk Weston,
Ha,
Michael Carlo Sr., Bernardo Rodriguez Jr.,
Yes.
Garfield Still, Craig Dillon,
Yes.
19, one not voting.
Thank you, council. That motion passes to approve the vice president's report. 19 yes, one not voting. That passes. Council, there's lunch out there, so if we want to take a 15-minute break. And then really quick, I know that the vice president is going to jump on the call too at 2 o'clock concerning the $1 billion, and Councilman or Chairman Yellowboy is going to jump on that. I'm not sure if Councilwoman Spotted Bear is going to jump on that, but that's the $1 billion coming out of the stimulus for IHS. And I know that Councilman Youngman suggested using some of that money for the tracers and public health. Hopefully we could use some of that for border monitoring as well. So there's all kind of ideas. So if you have anything to add, give it to Councilman Yellowboy or Councilwoman Spotted Bear or Vice President. And then Jennifer Hughes is going to be on that call as well, but that's at 2 o'clock. So thank you, council. So take a 15-minute break, grab some lunch, and we'll come back. So thank you, everyone.